A man suddenly appears, blocking the woman's path. "Hand over the bag now," the man shouts, his knife aimed at her, his eyes fixed on her, hungry for his victim. The woman tries to take a step to the side, looking for an escape, but the thug surrounds her, blocking her way. She shudders, her hand on her chest, feeling the panic rise. At that very moment, Jackson, with his feet nearly bare and his head lowered, is hiding behind a pile of trash, watching everything. The sound of the screams and the tension in the air hit him like a punch. He knows he can't just stay there, watching. Fear invades his body, but something drives him to move. But before we continue, check if you're already subscribed to the channel. Here, you'll find more exciting stories of courage, overcoming, and moments that can change everything. Without thinking, Jackson quickly stands up, grabbing a broken bottle from the ground. His heart races, but the adrenaline pushes him forward. He knows it might be too late to react, but he won't run. He never runs. "Hey, you son of a bitch!" Jackson yells, his voice hoarse and rough. The thug turns around, surprised. He didn't expect a kid, no older than 10, to be bold enough to challenge him. The man laughs, but the laugh dies when he sees the broken bottle raised in his direction. "Get lost, kid. This is none of your business," the thug says, trying to intimidate him with a fierce look. Jackson doesn't move, but his eyes burn with anger. He grips the shard of glass tightly, the bottle's blade gleaming under the streetlight. The woman, panicked, begins to back away, but she can't leave without the risk of being followed. "No, you're not going to hurt her," Jackson yells more intensely. He doesn't know where this courage comes from, but the anger at what's happening drives him. Seeing the situation getting out of control, the thug lunges at Jackson with a threatening laugh. "What are you gonna do, kid, with that?" He points to the broken bottle and takes a firm step toward Jackson. Adrenaline hits Jackson hard. He's ready for whatever it takes. Before the thug can get any closer, Jackson charges. He raises the glass shard and, in one quick movement, strikes the ground near the man's feet. The glass shatters, making the thug jump back, startled. "What do you think of that, huh?" Jackson shouts, panic and courage mixed in his voice. The thug, now uncertain, steps back, suspicious. He points the knife at Jackson. "Get out of the way, kid. I don't have time to waste." But Jackson, without hesitation, positions himself between the woman and the thug. "Move, before I have to do something worse." The man takes a step back, but the tension still hangs in the air. Jackson keeps the shard of glass raised, his eyes locked on the thug. He doesn't know what's going to happen, but he's ready to defend himself. The woman finally takes the opportunity to step to the side, moving slowly as the thug retreats, realizing it's not worth continuing the fight with a kid who won't back down. The thug, clearly irritated after a few seconds of tense silence, gives up. Jackson, still panting, stays in a defensive stance, but as he sees the thug retreating, he relaxes slowly. He lets out a sigh, and before the woman has a chance to thank him, he turns and begins walking away, his mind spinning. He doesn't want her to see his vulnerability. He doesn't want to be seen as someone who needs help. But what he doesn't know is that, at that moment, he had already changed her life. The woman, still trembling with fear, stands there for a few seconds, trying to process what just happened. She looks at Jackson, who is now quickly walking away, and can't help but feel deep gratitude mixed with a sense of helplessness. The boy who saved her seems as lost as she is. He disappears into the darkness, and the woman, still stunned, stands there unsure of what to do, but with one thing clear in her mind. She couldn't leave that boy alone. The woman, now free from the criminals, takes a deep breath, trying to regain her balance. Her body still trembles with fear, but something in the scene makes her hesitate. She looks at the empty street where Jackson disappeared, and a wave of emotion washes over her. The feeling of gratitude is overwhelming, but it also leaves her with an increasing sense of restlessness. Who was that boy? How could someone so young be so brave, so quick to act? She begins to walk, but her thoughts are on Jackson. Something about him made her feel like she couldn't just leave him there. The fear that he was lost, directionless, makes her decide to follow him. Not quite sure what to do, she starts walking through the dark streets, the sound of her own steps echoing in the night. Jackson, on the other hand, doesn't look back. His mind is full of confusion. He did what he thought was right, but now he feels more lost than ever. He's always been alone, and the last thing he wants is to accept anyone's help. The fact that he faced the criminals seems to make no difference to him. He's used to surviving alone. It's not the first time someone's tried to help him, but he knows that no one stays. They leave just like everyone else. So why should he believe she would be any different? He hides in a corner near a trash can, feeling safe there, at least for now. Jackson sits on the ground, leaning against the cold wall, his hands on his knees. He stays silent, his eyes fixed on the ground. Fear, anger, and loneliness are familiar feelings for him. But now, for some reason, everything feels heavier. He hears footsteps but doesn't recognize them. The street is empty and darkness is his only companion. The feeling of being watched begins to grow, but Jackson doesn't move. He's used to hiding, being invisible to the world. But the steps get closer, and a soft voice calls his name. Jackson? The woman. He turns but doesn't look at her. He can only see her silhouette, still with her hand over her chest, as if she were feeling the weight of it all. Jackson says nothing. He doesn't know what she wants, but her presence makes him uncomfortable. He feels something's going to happen, but he doesn't know what. "I'm not going to leave you alone," she says, her voice sincere, unhurried. "I don't need anyone," Jackson replies, his voice low and harsh. "I don't have anything left to do here." The woman steps forward, still cautious but without hesitation. "No, Jackson, I'm not leaving you like this. You can talk to me. You can trust me. I know life hasn't been easy, but maybe I can help you. It doesn't have to be this way." Jackson is silent for a moment. He wants to leave, run, but something inside him stops him. He looks at her, and something in her eyes makes him pause. She seems genuine, but he knows he's felt this way before. So many times he's been promised a fresh start, and in the end, he always ends up alone. "Do you think you can help me?" "With what?" he asks, anger in his tone, but without the same confidence he had before. "I have no place to stay, no food. It doesn't matter. I don't want any of this." The woman doesn't give up. She crouches down beside him, her gaze kind but firm. "Everyone deserves a chance, Jackson. I don't have all the answers, but I know you don't have to go through this alone." Jackson looks away, trying to hide the weakness he feels. The silence between them is deep, filled with unsaid emotions. He doesn't know what she really wants, but her voice still echoes in his head. He's never met someone like this. Someone who isn't just trying to get rid of him. She doesn't leave him alone. She's there, persistent, despite everything. He lets out a heavy sigh and finally speaks. I don't know if I can believe you." He gives a small smile, but it's bitter. "But why are you doing this?" "Because I think everyone deserves a second chance, even you." Jackson feels something, a strange feeling that he doesn't recognize. He looks at her, and for a moment, he sees more than just a worried woman. He sees someone who cares. Something inside him, something he's kept hidden for so long, starts to stir. A doubt, a possibility. "I can help you, if you let me," she says, breaking the silence. He stays silent for a while, still processing. "I don't know how to do this," he murmurs, more to himself than to her. The woman smiles, a sincere smile. "I know, but that doesn't mean you should give up." For a brief moment, Jackson feels a sense of peace, something he hasn't felt in a long time. He allows himself to look at her, and for the first time in a long time, he doesn't feel judged. She doesn't expect anything from him, only that he gives himself a chance. The following days for Jackson were a mix of relief and anguish. The woman, named Claire, didn't give up on him. Despite Jackson's resistance and silence, she showed up every day without fail, offering him a meal, talking to him, trying to understand his pain. He didn't fully accept her, but something in her presence began to make sense to him. Something he had never felt before, genuine care. Claire, in turn, was determined. She knew it wouldn't be easy, that the boy was broken in so many ways. But she also knew he wasn't a lost cause. Every gesture, every attempt to show him a different path, seemed like a small step forward, even if silent. He didn't speak much, but she was willing to wait. One afternoon, Claire found him lying on a park bench, his eyes fixed on the gray sky. The city was busy around him, but Jackson was lost in his own thoughts, immersed in a deep silence. When she approached, he didn't move. Stepping away from the crowd, she sat beside him. "Jackson," she said softly, almost desperately, trying to get his attention. But he remained still. She sighed, a heavy sigh as if all her strength was being drained. She knew he was scared, that his soul was fragile, but she didn't know how to make this work. I'm here if you need to talk." Still not looking at her, Jackson gave a slight movement of his head, as if the word talk was something too distant for him. He never had the chance to talk about what he went through, to share the pain that consumed him. He didn't know where to start. "I know you don't trust me, but I'm trying to understand what you're feeling," she continued. "I don't know what it's been like for you, but I don't want to force anything on you." Jackson turned his head to look at her, his tired eyes filled with a deep sadness. "You don't understand. No one understands. I can't go back. I can't change what happened," he said, his voice cracking at the end. "I can't do it." Claire felt the weight of his words, the pain overflowing. She felt him shutting down, pulling away even more than before. But she knew this wasn't about changing the past. It was about trying to understand what he needed now. She needed to be more than a stranger offering help. She needed to show him that he wasn't alone, that his pain didn't have to be carried alone. "You don't have to carry this alone, Jackson," she said gently. "I know you think there's no solution, but I see something in you. I see more than what you're trying to hide." He looked at her, surprised by the sincerity in her words. But still, he didn't believe her. He was so used to being ignored, so used to being discarded, that he didn't know what to do with the idea of someone genuinely caring. "You don't understand," he repeated. "I'm not a normal person anymore. I'm just a lost boy. And even if you try, that won't change." Claire took a deep breath, looking at him with a mixture of understanding and firmness. "I know it won't be easy. I'm not expecting miracles. But if you let me, I want to help Jackson. Not as someone trying to fix everything, but as someone who will be by your side while you try to rebuild yourself." He watched her silently for a while, as if searching for some sign of falseness. But something in her gaze seemed real. He couldn't identify exactly what, but it felt like she was truly there for him, not expecting anything in return. The feeling of being seen, even for a moment, made him feel a different weight in his chest, something he hadn't felt in a long time. "I don't know how this is going to work," he said finally with a slight sigh. "But maybe it's good to try. Maybe you're right." Claire smiled softly, her heart tightening with emotion as she saw that even if it was a small step, it was a step in the right direction. "I'm here for you, Jackson. Let's take it one step at a time, okay?" He didn't respond immediately, but for the first time, something in his gaze softened. It wasn't full trust, but a shy acceptance. The simple fact of having someone by his side, even for a moment, seemed to make some difference. The relationship between Jackson and Claire begins to strengthen slowly, like a sprout trying to break through dry soil. Claire continues to show up, without haste, without pressure. She brings food, talks about the small things in life, and tries to get him to share a part of his story. Sometimes he responds, other times he just remains silent. But the silence now is no longer total. Something has changed. One cold afternoon, Claire finds him sitting on a park bench, staring into nothingness, his eyes empty, burdened by the weight of an entire life. She approaches, but before speaking, she feels the need to simply sit beside him, in silence. There is no rush, no goal, just being there, as he is, without expecting anything. "Are you cold?" Claire asks softly, breaking the silence. Jackson doesn't respond immediately. He just shakes his head, as if he's thinking about something very distant. "I've gotten used to the cold," he says in a low, almost imperceptible tone. She smiles gently, taking the jacket she carried. "You can use it." "I won't need it now." Jackson looks at her, hesitating. He never knew how to react to such simple kindness, but this time he accepts it without question. She drapes it over his shoulders and the silence returns, but now there's something softer about it, something more bearable. They don't need to talk all the time. And that, in some way, comforts Jackson. "Did you ever have someone take care of you?" Claire asks, breaking the silence once more. Jackson looks at her sideways, as if not knowing how to answer. I had, once, when I was little. But it's too late for that now." Claire feels the tightness in her chest when she hears this, but she doesn't back down. "It's never too late, Jackson. Never." He turns to look at her, finally meeting her gaze, something he hasn't done in a long time. "I've lived on the streets for so long that I guess I don't know how to trust anyone anymore. I've seen many people and none of them stayed. I was never good enough for anyone to stay." Those simple, painful words hit Claire like an arrow. She knows Jackson isn't just talking about others. He's talking about himself. He sees himself as someone who doesn't deserve to be loved, no matter what he does or what he's been through. He carries the weight of a guilt that no one else can understand. "I know you have your scars, Jackson," she says softly but firmly, "but they don't define who you are. You don't have to carry that weight alone. You have the right to be seen, the right to be loved. Even with all of that, I see you, Jackson, and I'm here, not because you asked me, but because you deserve someone who sees what you really are." Jackson feels a lump in his throat. He's never heard those words before, not from anyone. He knows he's not ready to believe, not yet, but something starts stirring inside him. Something he didn't know was still alive. He looks at the ground, trying to hold back his composure. "I don't know if I'm capable of trusting again. I don't know if I know how to be who you think I am." Claire, feeling the weight of what he said, places her hand on his shoulder. "I'm not trying to change you, Jackson. I'm just here to support you. No matter what happens, no matter what you need, you're not alone anymore." Jackson's eyes fill with a different kind of light, a mixture of pain and possible hope. He says nothing, but inside something begins to shift. He doesn't know what the future holds, but the idea that maybe he could be more than what he's always thought he was keeps him there. Time passes, and Claire's visits continue, always silent, but always present. She doesn't force anything. She doesn't ask for answers. She's just there by his side as he slowly tries to open the doors of his own heart. Sometimes she sees him smile, shyly, as if it's something strange to him. But at other times, he stays silent for hours, thinking about what happened in his life and what could be now. But one thing is clear. Jackson is no longer the boy who walked the streets alone. He is beginning to realize that there is something more for him, something beyond pain, anger, and fear, something he never thought he deserved. And that is enough to keep the flame of hope alive, even if it is still weak. As the days passed, Jackson began to change in ways he couldn't fully understand. With each conversation, each small interaction with Claire, he felt a little more human. He started to remember simple things he had forgotten: the taste of a warm meal, the sound of a genuine laugh, the gentle touch of someone who cares. These things, which once seemed unreal to him, now began to be part of his life. One afternoon, while they were walking together through the city, Claire took him to a small cafe. It was a simple place with wooden tables and a cozy aroma in the air. Jackson looked at the menu a bit lost. He wasn't used to choosing anything more than what was necessary for survival. Claire noticed his hesitation. "You can order whatever you want, Jackson. There's no rush. I just want you to feel comfortable here," she said with a gentle smile. He looked at the menu again, his eyes scanning the options. He didn't know where to start. He had never had the chance to indulge himself in choices. It was always about what was cheapest, what could be found on the street. "It can be anything. I don't know what to order," he said, his voice still hesitant. Claire looked at him with tenderness. "How about something sweet? A dessert, maybe?" Jackson shrugged, still unsure whether he deserved something like that, but he accepted the suggestion. When the waiter brought the dessert, Jackson was surprised by its appearance. He never imagined he could enjoy something so simple yet so extraordinary. He picked up the spoon and took the first bite. Something inside him cracked at that moment. The sweetness, the feeling of being treated with care. He wasn't sure if he could handle it. Claire watched closely, seeing the small, hesitant smile that appeared on Jackson's lips as he ate. It was a genuine smile, but also one of uncertainty. He had never known how to react to such gestures of kindness. All he had known was pain and rejection. He feared that if he gave in to this, the pain of losing it would be even greater. "Do you like it?" Claire asked, wanting to make sure he was comfortable. Jackson looked at her, his expression slightly confused. I think so. I never thought something so simple could be so good." "You deserve these things, Jackson," Claire replied softly. "You deserve to enjoy the little things in life, without worrying about what happened before." He remained silent for a moment, the spoon still hovering in the middle of the plate. He didn't know what to say, but the truth was something inside him was transforming. It wasn't a sudden change, but a small step forward. He was beginning to understand that maybe there was something more for him, something beyond suffering and daily survival, something he could have. The afternoon continued, and Claire and Jackson walked through a few more streets of the city, talking about nothing and everything. The feeling of being together without haste, without big expectations, was new to Jackson. He never imagined that a simple conversation could mean so much. And as they walked, he felt a lightness in the air. A lightness he didn't know, but that now seemed possible. That day, Claire took him to the local library, and Jackson, for the first time, experienced something he had never had: the pleasure of reading. He had always thought books were just distant things for people who had time for them. But seeing the shelf full of stories, whole worlds waiting to be discovered, he began to wonder what could be different for him. "Do you like books?" Claire asked as he examined the shelves. Jackson looked at her with a slight smile. "I never thought it was something for me, but maybe it is." She handed him a small book, a simple novel, and said, "Read this. You'll see. Sometimes reading is like a refuge, a place where you can be someone else for a while." Jackson took the book, still not quite sure what to expect, but something inside him opened. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he didn't have to carry everything alone. He was beginning to understand that, even with the pain and fear, there was something more. Time passed, and Jackson began to allow himself to live the little things: the warm food, the warmth of a hug, the possibility of being seen for who he was, and not for what he had been through. He didn't know what the future held for him, but little by little, he began to believe that maybe, just maybe, he could be more than a boy lost on the streets. He could be someone with stories to tell, with a future to create. But challenges were still ahead. He knew the journey wasn't over yet. The pain still haunted him, and the ghosts of his past were still there. But now, he was no longer alone. He had someone by his side, someone who believed in him. And that, in itself, was the first step toward a new beginning. As the days turned into weeks, Jackson began to allow himself to experience new parts of his life. With each new act of kindness from Claire, he felt a little lighter, though still cautious, always questioning whether it was all real or if, at some point, he would have to return to the streets, where he felt he truly belonged. One day, while they were strolling through a local market, Claire noticed the change in Jackson. He was more open, more present. He picked out fruit with a shy smile, almost as if he were enchanted by the idea of having the freedom to choose what to buy, without hurry or fear. They stopped at a flower stand, and Claire picked up a small bouquet of daisies, something simple but with a touch of lightness. "Have you ever thought about giving flowers to someone, Jackson?" Claire asked with a soft smile and a deep look that showed she was beginning to see him in a way he never imagined possible. Jackson looked at her, confused, still with a cautious expression. He had never had this kind of experience, expressing something so pure, without fear of being judged or abandoned. He shook his head slowly. "I never thought I'd do something like that," he answered with a sincerity that even surprised himself. Claire, realizing how significant that moment was for him, placed the flowers in his hands. "How about you try? You never know how much a simple gesture can change someone's day." Jackson stood in silence, looking at the flowers with a distant gaze. He wondered what it would be like to give something like that. He thought of the mother he lost, the years of abandonment and suffering he spent on the streets. He had never had the chance to show affection or to be someone capable of giving something of value. But now, with Claire by his side, he started questioning everything he knew about himself. He hesitated for a few minutes, but finally made a decision. With a shy smile, he approached a woman who was buying bread at a nearby stand and handed her the flowers. "These are for you," he said, his voice still low but full of newfound courage. The woman looked at him, surprised, and smiled. "How lovely. Thank you so much, dear. This really made my day." Seeing her reaction, Jackson felt something he had never experienced before, a sense of accomplishment, that he had done something good, something that made a positive impact. He looked at Claire and she smiled with the greatest approval he could have hoped for. "See? It wasn't so hard, was it?" Claire said softly, but with encouragement in her voice. He didn't respond immediately, but his expression said it all. For the first time in a long time, he felt a light shine inside him. He was no longer just the boy lost on the streets. He was someone capable of doing something for another human being, something simple, but meaningful. Over time, Jackson began to explore these small changes more. He started going to school not because Claire made him, but because he began to realize that he too had a place in this world. He started learning, interacting with other young people, and though fear still existed within him, he felt a kind of freedom that once seemed unreachable. Claire, in turn, continued to be his constant support. But gradually, she began to notice that Jackson no longer needed constant help. He was rising step by step with much more strength than she had imagined possible. He still had a lot to face, but now he was no longer alone. He was building his own story. However, while everything seemed to be falling into place, Jackson's past was about to resurface in an unexpected way. On a rainy afternoon, Claire received a call that made her stop. The voice on the other end of the line was low and tense. "I found him," said the voice. Claire felt her stomach tighten. "Who? What?" "His father. He's looking for him, and he doesn't have good intentions." The air seemed to disappear around her. Jackson? His father? How could this be happening now when he had finally started to find his way? She looked at Jackson, who was sitting nearby, fiddling with a book. He seemed calm, oblivious to everything, but she felt the weight of what was about to happen. She knew she needed to tell him, but she also knew this could change everything. She approached Jackson and he looked at her, noticing the seriousness on her face. "Jackson, there's something we need to talk about." He stared at her, a faint shadow of worry crossing his eyes. "What happened?" Claire took a deep breath, knowing this moment would change everything. "Your father, he's looking for you." Jackson for a moment froze. Claire's words seemed to not connect with his reality. He had already thought that man who abandoned him so long ago was a closed chapter in his life, but now he was back, threatening everything Jackson had worked for so far. The news hits Jackson like a bomb. He stays silent for a long moment, his eyes fixed on the ground, unsure how to react. His body trembles slightly, not from fear, but from something deeper, something he can't control. He had believed the past was buried, that he had finally found a place where he didn't have to carry the weight of that story anymore. But now, the man who abandoned him is back, and even more terrifying, he's looking for him. "Are you saying he wants to see me?" Jackson asks, his voice lower than usual, as if reality is distorting around him. Claire hesitates. She doesn't want him to feel even more lost, but she knows the truth can't be ignored. "Yes, Jackson. I know it's hard to hear, but he's looking for you and I have to prepare you." Jackson takes a step back, her words still echoing in his mind. He doesn't know what to do with this. His father? The man who left him behind, who never looked for him, who never cared? The man he hated with every fiber of his being? How could he deal with this now? "I don't want to see him. I have nothing to say to that guy. Nothing." Jackson explodes, his anger overflowing, stronger than he expected. "He left me. He doesn't deserve anything from me." Claire takes a deep breath, giving him space to process everything happening. She understands his pain, the emotional turmoil. "I know you're angry. I know you're right to feel this way, but Jackson, he's still your father. And maybe it's more complicated than you think." Jackson shakes his head, as if trying to push away the thoughts forming in his mind. "He's not my father. He's just the guy who made me feel like I wasn't important. He's worth nothing." Claire places her hand on his shoulder, a gesture more comforting than he expected. "I understand what you're going through, but maybe this is your last chance to truly close this chapter, to decide what to do with it." Jackson doesn't respond immediately. He looks at her, his gaze full of pain. "I never wanted this. I never wanted him to come back. I thought I had already moved on." "You don't have to do anything now, Jackson. I just wanted you to know. And if you want, we can deal with this together, like we always have." He watches her silently for a moment. Something in her makes him feel a little safer. Not because she has all the answers, but because she's there, offering support without haste. Something inside him, something he had buried, begins to stir. Maybe he still had something to resolve with that man. Maybe he still had something to close with his past. "I don't know, Claire. I don't know if I can do this," Jackson says, his voice weak but sincere. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Just know, if you ever decide you want to see him, I'll be by your side." He looks at her, absorbing her words. He's never had someone by his side like this. Never. And though he still has doubts, a small thread of hope begins to form. He's not alone anymore. He doesn't have to face it all alone. In the following days, Jackson tries to focus on the simple things, the lessons he's been learning at school, the new friendships he's trying to cultivate. He realizes that, although the past still haunts him, he's no longer a prisoner of it. But the memories of his father continue to chase him. What would he do if that man really showed up? What would he say? One afternoon, while walking down the street, he feels a familiar presence approaching. He stops in the middle of the sidewalk, his eyes fixated on a man in front of him. It's him, his father. The man looks older than Jackson remembers, with deep wrinkles and a tired gaze. He looks at Jackson with an expression of regret but also pain, as if he's trying to find the right words. "Jackson," the man's voice is low, almost shy. I knew I should have come back sooner, but I didn't know what to do." Jackson stays silent, staring at the man who, in a distant past, was his only connection to what he called family. The father's words mean nothing to him. All he feels is a deeper pain, a sense of betrayal he's never been able to overcome. "I have nothing to say to you. Don't look for me again," Jackson replies, his voice firm without hesitation. He feels the weight of the pain, but also the strength of everything he's built. He won't let that man destroy what he has now. He turns and begins to walk away, not looking back. Claire, who was standing at a distance, watches the scene with a heavy heart. She knew this moment would be hard, but she also knew that Jackson had made the right decision. He was no longer at the mercy of the past. He was taking control of his own life, and as he walked away, Jackson felt a strange sense of relief. It wasn't a victory, but it was an important step. He didn't have to carry that weight anymore. He didn't need that man to define him. Jackson's life begins to stabilize. He returns to school, gradually allowing himself to make friends and experience what once seemed impossible. He starts to believe more and more that the past doesn't have to define his future. Each day is an achievement. Each laugh with his classmates a reminder that he's no longer alone. He still carries many scars, but now he knows they don't make him less worthy. He can be more than the boy who grew up on the streets. He can be someone who, at last, chooses his own destiny. Over time, his relationship with Claire grows stronger. She is no longer just the woman who appeared in his life to help him. She's become the most loyal friend he could have. She saw him at his lowest, and yet never abandoned him. And now, she sees him as someone capable of reinventing himself, someone capable of being more than the trauma of his past. But still, the ghosts of his past serve as a constant reminder. Even after confronting his father and making a firm decision, something inside Jackson still unsettles him. He feels that he can't move forward without truly understanding what happened to his mother, without understanding why everything unfolded the way it did. What he still doesn't know is that, despite not needing his father, there's something else he needs to seek in order to find true peace. One evening, as they walk through the park, Jackson suddenly stops. He looks at Claire, his eyes now clearer, more determined, as if he's finally making a decision that has troubled him for a long time. "Claire, I need to know what happened to my mom. I need to understand what happened after she left me. I can't move on without that," he says, his voice firm, but still carrying a pain that's still there, lingering. Claire watches him attentively, understanding the weight of this moment. She knows Jackson is at a turning point where he needs to face the last shadows that chase him. She places her hand on his shoulder as she always does, with a gesture that is more than support. It's understanding. "I'm here for you, Jackson. We'll figure this out together." The decision to seek answers about his mother is an important step. Jackson knows this is a journey he needs to take on his own, but the idea of having Claire by his side gives him the strength he needed. Together they start looking for records, for information about what happened to Jackson's mother, and this leads them to an unexpected discovery. They find an old friend of his mother's, an elderly woman named Margaret, who lives in a simple house on the outskirts of town. Margaret, when she sees them, smiles wistfully, but her gaze is kind and welcoming. She invites them in, and as Jackson begins asking questions, she shares a story he never knew. "I met your mother when she was still young. She was always a very strong woman, but life took her in a very cruel way. After losing you, she was never the same. She tried to find you, tried to take care of you, but things didn't work out. She fought until the end, but life sometimes doesn't give everyone a chance." Jackson listens to Margaret's words with a heavy heart. He never knew his mother had tried so hard, that she fought for him, even when he was taken in by another family. This disarms him in a way he didn't expect. He had always believed his mother had abandoned him, but hearing the truth, he feels the pain and the hatred he once carried starting to fade, giving way to a silent acceptance. He looks at Claire, who watches the scene with an expression of understanding, as if she knew this moment was vital to Jackson's healing process. "She tried. She loved me. even though I couldn't see it before." Jackson's words come out low but filled with a relief he never imagined he would feel. What happens next isn't a great revelation or anything extraordinary. There are no big twists or dramatic endings. What Jackson finds in that moment is peace. He knows that the woman he thought had abandoned him, in fact, did everything she could to fight for him until the end. This doesn't erase the pain, but it is one less weight. In the days that follow, Jackson begins to allow himself a new life. He is no longer the same boy who ran the streets, the same boy who carried hatred like a shield. He learned, with Claire and through his own struggle, that the future doesn't have to be a repetition of the past. He can choose. He can be someone who reconciles with what happened, without being defined by it. On a calm afternoon, as he walks beside Claire, Jackson looks toward the horizon. He knows there are still challenges ahead, but he also knows that now he is ready to face them. No longer alone, but with the courage of someone who has finally understood that true freedom lies in allowing oneself to live fully. Here's another touching story coming your way on your screen. See you there.